This video is brought to you by Babbel. In today's fast-moving world, the need to speak different languages is becoming more and more important each day. But learning a language takes a lot of time and commitment, making it difficult to get into conversations quickly. Perhaps you're traveling on vacation and you don't speak the language there, or have moved to another country. Or maybe you're studying a language and need a refresher and don't have the time for a tutor. With Babbel, you can learn a new language of your choice in real-life situations after just 5 hours of practice. The learning program is the only one that takes your native language into account and shapes the courses around that. Your confidence will be boosted as all the lessons simulate how you'll have a conversation with a native speaker on topics like business, food, travel, and more that are useful in real-life situations. These lessons are just 10 to 15 minutes, making them easy to fit into your busy life. Get Babbel in seconds by clicking the link in the description below. Sign up today for a 3-month subscription and get 3 months extra for free. How did these warriors continue to fight when shot? The Juramentados, the suicidal warriors of the southern Philippines, 1899 to 1913. The Filipino-American War that lasted from 1899 to 1902 was an insurrection by Philippine nationalists against their recent occupation by American forces. During the fighting, the American army who had taken the islands from the Spanish the previous year found themselves in a bitter guerrilla war with the nationalist rebels. But worse was to come when they came up against the hostile Moro tribesmen in the south of the country. For their warriors, called Juramentados, which meant oath-takers in Spanish, were devout fanatics. These fearless warriors carried a distinct-shaped dagger called a kris into battle with a sharp, wavy-edged blade, which at close quarters could be used to devastating effect. Alongside this, they also armed themselves with kampilan swords, spears, arrows, bayonets, and muskets. In battle, the tribesmen wore robes and turbans and seemed to be unstoppable to the Americans at first. At the time, the U.S. Army's standard sidearm was the Colt M1892 38 caliber 6-shot revolver, which appeared to have little effect on these charging berserkers. Sometimes it would take up to a full cylinder of 6 shots from one of these revolvers to take down one of these warriors, but before they did, they would already be close enough to kill at least several members of the U.S. patrol they were ambushing. Before battle, the Moro tribesmen ritually bound their bodies in tight strips of cloth. This had the effect of slowing down blood loss when wounded in battle, allowing them to kill as many of the enemy before they finally died of their injuries. For the Juramentados saw their attack on the enemy as being a sacred duty and expected it to end in their own deaths, seeing it as their road to paradise and salvation. They combined this with recreational drugs to inhibit the sensation of pain. This altered their state of consciousness, which turned them into an almost unstoppable frenzy. This, combined with the inadequate stopping power of the U.S. Army's .38 revolver, resulted in terrifying experiences in combat. One account told of Moro tribesmen surging directly through barbed wire, even as it ripped through their flesh and they were riddled with bullets. When they fell, they had glittering eyeballs and bared black teeth. Another was when a Marine emptied his .38 revolver into a tribesman charging towards him, to no effect. He was only saved at the last second when a fellow Marine took down the warrior with a rifle. It was only the Americans' Krag rifles and Winchester 1897 trench shotguns that had the adequate stopping power against the Moro warriors. The Juramentados were all but wiped out in 1913 when a large American force led by General Pershing attacked the final stronghold of the Moro, a large fortified position at the top of Mount Bagsak on the Philippine volcanic island of Yolo, Sulu. The American forces made heavy use of their pump-action shotguns in the battle in order to stop the charging Juramentados. After a bloody battle that lasted several days, the Americans were victorious. All 500 warriors involved were killed, as the Americans didn't take any prisoners and left any enemy wounded to die unattended on the battlefield. The American forces lost just 14 men, with another 24 wounded. General Pershing afterwards wrote to his wife saying, "The fighting was the fiercest I have ever seen. They are absolutely fearless, and once committed to combat, they count death as a mere incident." The whole experience so unnerved the U.S. military that after the insurrection, they decided to replace their revolvers with a much larger caliber weapon, and that was the legendary .45 heavy caliber Colt M1911 semi-automatic pistol. a weapon that was said to be powerful enough to stop a horse and proved so reliable and effective that it stayed in frontline service for 75 years with the U.S. Army and the U.S. Marine Corps. It's still used today by the U.S. Special Forces as they value its incredible stopping power and long-range accuracy.